it goes from politics. And I saw something with John. John does, I had a great fortune of meeting Bill Clinton at John Morgan's home. I showed you guys the invitation, the blue invitation that I get. I used to get invitations all the time when the president showed up at John. I saw John, he was standing next to Ron DeSantis. Completely two different dudes when it comes to philosophical ways and how you see things with people. The right and wrong for Florida. John's got a completely different opinion of DeSantis, but he's there with him. Why? You know why? Great people and great statesmen try to get to the center and get 75% of what they want to get accomplished, knowing the 25% is what you're giving. That's what makes you a great leader. And before we get to Shedeur, I want to get John's take on the White House. Let's bring him up here. How important is it? Hey, John, how you doing? I appreciate it, my friend. Let me start this out with you. Yesterday, Jalen Hurts didn't show up at the White House, and Saquon Barkley did. Now, John, he had played golf, Barkley, a couple months earlier with Barack Obama, really great friends with Obama. He loves Saquon Barkley. He was playing with the president, and I keep bringing this up. People forget that Saquon's uncle is Iran Barkley, the former middleweight champion of the world that fought at Trump's casinos when there were casinos in Atlantic City. So he had known him for a while. There's a lot of hatred right now for Barkley. In your opinion, the White House and the visits, how do you look at that on teams and players making political issues and statements out of going to the White House?
Well, what I believe is the First Amendment is the right to free speech. Encompassed in the First Amendment with the right to free speech is the right not to speak. So Jalen Hurts decided, I'm going to not speak. That's fine. That's what the First Amendment is. Barkley has decided that he is going to go speak. What his relationship is with Trump, I don't know. I understand why people might be mad at him for going because they're mad at Trump. There's people that were mad at Obama. The one thing I found, Dan, is that everybody has a target on them. Look, when the Pope died, there were people taking shots at the Pope.
I know, I saw it was disgusting.
So I'm like, so I don't feel so bad. When people take shots at me, I'm like, well, hell, if they're taking shots at the Pope. So I don't criticize anybody. He is the president of the United States. So one thing I will say is, first, I did not support him, but I didn't support her either. It was like a race to the bottom for me. This is the president of the United States. And the one thing that I would say is we have to be pulling for him. Because if we're not pulling for him, we're
Amen.
Pulling against ourselves. And look, would he have been No. Did I support Joe Biden from up in your area, from Delaware? Yes. Was Joe Biden at my house? Yes. But against Donald Trump. But I'm not mad at Barkley. I'm not, Jalen Hurts did what he did. It's all part and parcel of the First Amendment, the right to speak and the right not to speak.
I had the privilege, John, as you have. You've stayed in the White House. I had a chance to go back in '87 when President Reagan was there. And, I went there because they were honoring my team. And I thought, as the face of a franchise, don't you have different responsibilities, John? You're not just a lawyer in your firm. You have an identity that people look at Morgan & Morgan and they see you. There's different responsibilities that come with being a leader of your team and of the people that you're leading. Don't you think? I mean, somebody was saying, well, the other guys, there's a lot of guys like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith didn't go. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. That's not the role that those guys are in. John, you're in a different role than you are with some of your lawyers that go across the country defending families. You're the leader of those men. Don't you think you have a different responsibility to that team to represent your company and make sure that I may not do shit that I like, but sometimes I have to? Don't you have to have that ideology too a little bit if you're a leader?
Well, you do, but let's don't go too fast. Jalen may have thought, this is how I'm going to be a leader. I'm not going for all this bullshit. I'm not going for all this race baiting. I mean, look, this election was about DEI. DEI is now DEAD. This was all about woke. This woke is now asleep. This was about affirmative action. Affirmative action to many people was reverse discrimination. But there's a huge racial component that went into that last election. And I've said this before on CNN and Fox. We were involved in a race war. There are people who are marginalized on the left. There's people who are marginalized on the right. And they all believe that they are being oppressed. So I can't get into their heads, but I'll tell you this about Jalen Hurts. I don't know why he didn't, but I think Jalen Hurts is a leader. And I think he's a man's man. And I'm not going to ever say, go in there. That's one thing. I don't think he had to. I don't think you ever have to compromise your principles and your thoughts. And Barkley didn't think it. And they're both great. But I think Jalen Hurts is a leader amongst leaders. And I think to me, he's the class of the class.
John, do you think this is more social media than that Pitts? Because as you said, the art of debate and the art of having conversation is seemingly dead in our country today. That one guy can have that direct polar opposite opinion, and two things can be right? Barkley can be right, Hurts can be right, but why has that become today where it's so easy to go to the low-hanging fruit where you go, well, if you support Barkley, he's turned into, what people call folks that do that, and you turn around the other guy and you go, well, if you support that, you're a racist. I mean, is that because it's the product?
Look, talk, you can't. Listen, Bill Maher went to have dinner with Trump. Larry David wrote a letter to the New York Times called My Dinner with Hitler. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
So Bill Maher's now catching hell for going and meet. Bill Maher, he's the president. You got. So, but the country is so the last time this country felt like a country to me was the day or days after 9/11 when George Bush had the megaphone at 9/11 and 91% of the country supported him. We are so polarized that if you say I want to compromise, the word compromise is not allowed to be used. On the right and on the left, it's all or nothing. I want it all or nothing. In my tech office in Brooklyn, I have a sign when you come in, and it says, "Done is better than perfect." And guess what? Let's just get something done. Let's get something done. So because of social media, we can hide behind keyboards and say outrageous things about each other. But when they come up to me on the street or to you on the street, they never say shit to you that they type. They never do.
Yeah.
But being anonymous gives us the power and the courage to say and do things that we would never do. So social media has that, and that's why that's why movie stars and sports stars probably don't read too much and you don't know, Dan, in this lane, you don't know if they're all bots or not.
Yeah,
there could be 1,000 comments and 900 could be bots that not real people. Listen, one time when I didn't support Kamala Harris, I was getting stung by this, what they call it, the K-hive. They were pissed off at me.
Well, you pulled $3 million, didn't you? If that was the story I
I didn't pull $3 million. I'd already given $3 million. I just said I'm not going to give any more. I said you can keep it. I thought she was the wrong person at the wrong time. I thought there should have been a convention. We should have had the best of the best. When she ran for office, she got no votes. She only got 8% in California, where she's from. And I said it then, and I'll say it now. She's going to lose. And if she runs again, well, she's not going to. If she runs again, she's not going to win the nomination. I just wanted what I wanted was democracy, to believe in elections, and that for the best person to win. I didn't think she was the person that was going to give the Democrats the best chance to win. And I was right. She didn't get beat. She had her butt beat. I mean, it was an electoral land. But here we are. Donald Trump is our president. He's only been there for 100 days. All I can tell everybody is buckle up. Now, on the meantime, I am opening up bank accounts in Switzerland because I'm scared.
I remember one comment John used to tell me. I'm a man that tries to get to yes, not get to no. He used to tell me that all the time here.
Right.
So let me get to this one here.
I also told you this. No means yes.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Nobody's more dogged. I mean, you don't know. The word no doesn't exist in your vocabulary.
Absolutely not, because
no means yes.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I refuse to surrender. I will never let go of the rope. John, let me ask you a question about Shedeur and this story and what you witnessed and what the country witnessed. It became so polarizing over the weekend. You had, once again, it became a racial issue. It became whether the kid was good enough. It was a media issue. How did you see this whole Shedeur Sanders story as it unfolded this past weekend?
Well, look, everybody always wants to make it, a race thing. But who was the number one draft choice?
Cam Ward.
Okay. The number one. Who was number two?
Right. Abdul Carter. Oh, Travis Hunter, excuse me.
From
Colorado.
Okay. So, look, we can do it. We can try to make it Colin Kaepernick. We can do that. Stephen A. Smith is out there ranting and raving because he's trying to make up for his LeBron shit. He pooped in church with LeBron, so he's trying to overdo it with this. And I love Stephen A. Smith, but he's like on a makeup tour to show how. But look, Deion Sanders is Deion. We love him. If you don't love him, you hate him. And these owners, most of them, almost everyone are not athletes. Most everyone probably struck out in kickball in elementary school. Have you ever
seen on third base, right, John?
With a silver spoon stuck up their ass. When I see those people, the Kansas City, the Ken and Barbie owners, I'm like, come on, man. Come on. Come on. You're going to tell these. But so you got these owners, and these people want to have people that are humble. Well, Deion ain't humble.
No way.
And the son is right out of his ilk. And so here's how I look at it. I think the Sanders should have toned it down a little bit. I know Jimmy Haslam. Dee, I don't know if you know his wife, Dee. I have a bunch of businesses in Pigeon Forge in the Rocky Mountains. Attractions. Me and Guy Fieri have a place called Downtown Flavortown. So I got to know Dee in Tennessee. Her father, it's amazing. Google Dee Haslam's father. He was the producer of the original Today Show. He had he had Charlie McCarthy and those puppets. It's unbelievable. So I know the Haslams.
John, is it like the one in Orlando, that amusement park, that you have in Orlando? Is it like that?
Yeah, it's called Wonderworks. The house is turned upside down. Yep. Wonderworks. I have, I own a piece of Margaritaville with Jimmy Bubs. We have a Margaritaville hotel. Yep. We have Alcatraz East. We have downtown Flavortown. But the Haslams are Tennessee. They had Pilot, the big trucking place. So I got to know Dee. I got to meet Jimmy through Dee. They're fantastic people. Here's what I think. I think that Jimmy Haslam got the steal of the draft Because here's the deal. The guy is talented. Look,
Yep.
He's talented. Here's the question. Can he tone it down? And the thing we don't know that you read about are the short passes too wobbly. I don't know. But here's the good news for the Sanders. They got money. Deion's got money. He made money.
Hopefully we're able to connect here with John again. I think we're frozen here a little bit.
Do we freeze? Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I got you now, John. You're back.
I think this is going to be the very best thing that happens to this kid, because now he has been humbled. And I tell you what, I think he handled it well. When he got drafted in the 5th round, instead of throwing his stuff down, he was still dancing. And I used to tell my kids, never let them see you sweat. You did not see him sweat. He was dancing. They were all dancing. But I think it's a great thing for him. It's not like he needs money. He's got money. His daddy's got money. But now here's the deal. He is so motivated to show everybody that, hey, you made a mistake with me. You made a mistake with Tom Brady. You made a mistake with the kid from the 49ers. You have given me the fuel that I need to show all you know what's. You were wrong. And no, I'm not humble. The reason I'm not humble is because I'm great.
I like that.
And he has that opportunity. And it's not like he's going to miss, any meals. It's not like he's going to lose his house. He's going to be fine. Deion's going to be fine. You got to look. I say this all the time. Sometimes bad luck becomes your best, becomes great luck. And so I don't know what happened. They want to turn it into this collusion and the owner. That didn't happen. They want to blame it on Brady, that he didn't pick them and the Raiders could have picked them. That didn't happen. What happened was he didn't work out some places. Deion said he wouldn't play for the Browns. Isn't it ironic? That's who drafted him. But it's a learning experience. I'm a Gator, but I love Deion Sanders. I love watching him. I love hearing him. And I think he's learned from this. And I'm pulling for this kid to do great because I'm old enough that he is a kid.
You know, John, you're such the right person to ask this to, because I keep telling people, and people go, well, it's racism, it's this and that. I go, man, those guys, those NFL owners like Jerry Jones, they're racist, all right, to one color. It's green. Anything that makes money, John, they're not looking anything that can help that bottom line. They are about winning. They will cut their throats to win ball games because that's what billionaires do. Dude, billionaires don't get in a room looking to make good deals with each other. They're looking to get the advantage on somebody because that's who they are. They don't change their stripes like that. That's how you become a billionaire. These guys are all about winning. I mean, there was no collusion in this, John. This is about winning, right?
Well, it's about winning. Listen, you know this. I was partners with Johnny Cochran in his firm. And I was Paul Bear at his funeral. Johnny used to say about our business that the color of money, the color of justice in America is green. Well, the color in the NFL with these billionaires is green. Ask yourself, of everybody drafted, how many were black, how many were white, how many were Samoans? And it's going to be disproportionately African-American.
26 of the 32 first rounders were African-Americans.
So I don't buy into that. And I also tell you this, whatever you call racism, you take away from real racism.
Right.
You take away, listen, I'm in the business, Dan, of representing people who've been discriminated because of race, sex. But if everybody that gets fired says, I got fired because I was a woman, it takes away from legitimate claims. So I don't believe it's racism. I believe that these owners and these general managers want to control the locker room. They know Deion's going to be there. They know that the kid was coming in hot. Now he's been cooled off, but he loses nothing. He's in the best position to show everybody. Look, is Deshaun going to ever play again even? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. So he's gone. And I think that this is going to turn out to be the story, which is it was the greatest thing that ever happened to him. And sometimes bad luck becomes your best luck. And that's what I hope and pray happens for this kid, because he is very talented. He's very talented. He didn't slide off the board because, like you say, look, back in the day when the Boston Celtics, which is supposed to be the most racist city in the world, guess who had the first black player? Boston. Guess who had the first team with all blacks?
Yeah.
Boston. Guess who had the first black coach?
Yeah.
Boston. Guess why? They wanted to win.
Hey,
they wanted to win. They wanted to win. So it wasn't about that. Listen, there's some shaky guys that you know, and I'm not going to talk about, that have been drafted in the NFL who did a lot of stuff before they got drafted, but they were there because they could win. So
that's right.
That's the thought.
How about this here, John? Let me ask you this. You're so huge in sports, and you know, you've been around that Gator program for so long. Let me ask you about Bill Belichick. Would you send your son right now to Bill Belichick? And I put this out there as gently as I could. Can you imagine recruiting in Florida in a single black mom's home where many kids are getting recruited, walking in like that after that display? And those moms are so guarded with their children. You're not getting that crap by that. There's no way. I mean,
well, just tape this. Bill Belichick will last 1 year at North Carolina. Just book that. You know, he's not going to make it. Look, Dan, I own a lot of nursing homes in Florida. I don't know if you know that or not.
I do.
The first thing I saw when I was looking at this is like, is this man in the early stages of dementia? And I'm not just saying that.
I know you're not.
You remember that old man that had Anna Nicole Smith, the billionaire?
Yes. Yeah, the oil man.
The oil man, the big blonde with.
Yep. Yep.
That's who I thought of. I thought Anna Nicole Smith. First of all, not to be embarrassed. I mean, out there with the fishing pole and her dressed up as a mermaid. And then I found out, you know, she was a cheerleader, but I never even heard of the school. What was the school? Cheering what? I don't know. Did you know the school she went to?
I don't even know where she parachuted in. They say they met on an airplane.
Well, then during the CBS interview, they ask him a question and she shouts, you saw the clip, don't answer that question. And he turns around, I'm not going to answer that question. And he's sitting there with this sweatshirt with holes in it. Looked like moths. Like moths. He needs to get some mothballs in his closet. These holes are in there, and he's looking over to her for direction. And then he's denying that Kraft fired him. Kraft fired Bill Belichick.
He did.
You know, he's saying it was a mutual decision. It's like this. Every time somebody gets divorced, have you ever noticed it was mutual?
Yeah.
And we're still friends? No,
yeah.
You're not. You're not still friends.
I've never met anyone that went through, hey, that was a really great divorce.
Yeah, we still look. But I will say this. After watching Belichick, after watching this, I used to think Belichick might have been a real genius. I lean more and more. He was lucky to have Tom Brady. Because, so I agree with you. I think, I don't care who, parents are rich, poor, or medium. I'm not going to send my kid off to that guy. If that's what he is about. Look, how old is he? 74?
70.
71.
71.
Yeah. So thank God he's older than me. But it's borderline obscene.
It is.
It's borderline obscene. And it always gets down to this: judgment. But that interview with CBS, that interview. And by the way, CBS, they decided to play that in that outtake in the show because it kept happening.
Yeah.
Hearing it. It wasn't a one-off. She's over there. No. There was a clip today. She's on the field at practice.
I know.
She's on the practice field. I'm like, listen, coach, go home. Stop. You're a Hall of Famer. You won all these Super Bowls. You are now destroying one of the greatest legacies. We're never going to remember his championships. We're never going to remember.
No.
We're never going to remember his days in New York. We're never going to remember his days in Cleveland. We're going to remember the day that this 72-year-old dude was dating a 24-year-old girl and just, said, I don't even know how he's able to do it with a straight face. One time, I'll tell you a funny story. One time I'm at a dinner at the Italian embassy, and Nancy Pelosi had just been elected speaker. And we're at our table. John Kerry was at the table, the Secretary of State, and my daughter Kate and me. You've met Kate at my house.
Absolutely.
Kate's 38 years old. And so John Kerry's looking over at us. Tony Bennett was at our table. He was singing that night, I Left My Heart in San Francisco. So John Kerry keeps looking over at us, and my daughter Kate goes, hey, Senator Kerry? He goes, what? She goes, I just want to tell you something. He's my dad. He's my dad. Because she didn't want there to be any misunderstanding. And I'm like, yeah. And so she pulls out, she had this store called the Violet Clover, and she pulls out and gives her Violet Clover card
my God.
to Senator Kerry. He goes, oh, well, thank you, Kate. Because,
Was Ultima there?
No, because Kate was my date.
Okay.
So Kate was my date. Clinton was there. But we're at the Italian embassy. But Katie was so attuned. Like, does he think that this old man, and he said it, Senator Kerry, this is my dad. And the funny thing, the next day we got up, we were at breakfast, and she starts laughing at breakfast, and she goes, I go, what are you laughing about? She pulled out one of her Violet Clover cards, and she goes, can you imagine when he's going through his pockets today and sees this Violet Clover business card? And look, I'm younger than Belichick, and Kate is now 38, and she was embarrassed with that age difference.
Oh my God.
So I can't explain it. I mean, I think I understand why he might be doing it, but it really makes me question the mental stability. And look, I'm 69. I'm forgetting shit. The other day, I was trying to think of the name of a restaurant. I had to Google it. I'm like, whoa. I mean, that's
don't believe this bullshit right here. I don't believe he forgets nothing.
Well,
okay?
But it happens. But I'm telling you that North Carolina, I thought it was going to be hard for him to recruit anyway, even with NIL.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I'm not listen.
No way.
When you're sending your 18-year-old off,
No
that's the father figure. These coaches figures. And I don't want that father mentoring my son if that's who he is. As Maya Angelou said, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. Bill Belichick has now showed us who he is. He had a lot of great years. He really should have just gone away or waited for a head coaching job in the NFL. And I would have kept it secret as hell.
Absolutely. John, finally here, I got to bring this up because we had Dan on, and I got to ask you, man, I think he let something out of the bag on you here.
What?
So I kind of pressed him on something. I go, is your old man, is he buying some land up with Grand Hill? I'm hearing some little birdies in Orlando that are trying to buy some land up in Orlando, and they're trying to move the Rays over to Orlando. And Dan goes, Who told you that? I go, I know folks too. I know, buddy, the mayor of Orlando very well. And I go, I had Johnny kind of like talked about it a little bit. I go, I'm working in a group trying to buy and move the Rays. And he goes, did John tell you that? I go, no, I can't, because I know you know him, so I'm not going to lie on this one. Usually I would, but I'm not gonna. So he started smiling with me, and I'm like, okay, so I got to ask John. John, are you in the process of potentially being a business partner and trying to get a group together to buy the Rays?
Well, I'll tell you this because it just happened a second ago. This story just broke while we're on this. Barry Larkin has been a friend of mine for a long, long time. Barry Larkin was one of the great players, Hall of Famers, shortstop,
Great red.
forever. Before he died, Pat Williams from Philly.
Love him.
Pat Williams takes me to lunch down here at a place called the Tap Room at Dubstred. You remember the Tap Room, Dan?
Absolutely.
So Pat Williams takes me down and he says, look, here's my dream. We buy this piece of land right next to SeaWorld. We move the Rays to this piece of land. We call the team the Dreamers. We call the field of Dreams. It's Pat Williams. I was intrigued for a lot of reasons. The main reason I was intrigued was because the Orlando Magic are the sorriest franchise over the last 25 years since Shaq left of any NBA team.
The DeVos family, a lot of question marks.
But here's the great news for Orlando. Still are like 7th in the league in attendance. Why? Because tens of millions of people come to Orlando from Detroit, from Philly, from Boston. And when they come to see Disney and Epic Universe and all that, if their team is here, they'll go over and watch them beat the hell out of the Magic.
That's right.
Now, Mosley, he's a good dude. He lives across the street from Matt, by the way. He's an excellent coach. But before him, it was like they were like the Washington Generals. So you just come and watch your team clean them up. They were 7th in the league in attendance when they sucked. So right. I like that idea. You put it right next to SeaWorld. I also have attractions and hotels over on iDrive. It's right there in the corridor. It's right next to the new theme park that Universal's put it in. So then Pat died. Pat Williams died.
Yep.
And I thought, well, there goes that. And then the next thing I know, Barry Larkin has put together, he's got back with Pat's people. He's come to me. They need like $1.5 billion to do the whole thing. But they have to buy the team. So what I've told, and you can read about it, it just printed in the Orlando Sentinel, just sitting here, that yes, I have told Barry Larkin that I will be very interested in investing a significant amount of money as one of the lead investors. If he can get, I would not invest in Tampa. I was invited to invest in Tampa. I think Tampa's a dead end. I think Orlando's tourist population makes it a no-brainer. Tampa, even though they won World Series, they've still struggled. Miami, terrible baseball town. This is where it should be. Baseball should either be here or Las Vegas because of tourism.
John, is that why? Are you taking the model like what the Raiders did on the other side of McCarran, building that stadium and moving there? They've got a built-in population that comes to Vegas all the time from all over, and you're kind of seeing a little bit of that being implemented where you're going to have a built-in fan base.
I'm seeing it, listen, exactly like the Raiders. You move to a place like Vegas with all the tourism, and then you got the gambling. But it's the same thing. All of a sudden, you're moving here, and you're getting – here's how important Orlando is. Most people buy national ads, but there's so many people come here. National companies buy local ads in the Orlando market because they're touching so many tourists who are here from all over. This is a unique city. The only city that's like this as far as tourism goes is, to your point, Las Vegas. how much they want me to put in. There's another guy that owns a big dental clinic across the country who is willing to put in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars maybe. But if they move it from Orlando, if they move it to Orlando, if Barry Larkin is the face, and if they get that piece of land that Pat picked out, I'm going to put a significant amount of money into the Dreamers and the Field of Dreams. But they got to buy the team and the reason I like it, Dan, is I know baseball. I got a small sports agency, as you know, in baseball. But the reason I like it is not because I like baseball. I like it because I like money. And here's the thing. I think that this franchise, if they could buy the Rays for what they're worth, which is not much, and move it to Orlando with this, I think it's a tremendous investment opportunity. So, but Barry Larkin, he's coming up here on May 7th. He lives down in Boca. He plays golf every day. And he's coming up here on May 7th, and we're going to sit down and hash it out and chop it up, and we'll see what happens.
Man, I got one last one for you.
All right.
So he was telling me that I asked him, I go, John's everywhere. My wife, we're watching UFC the other day, and there's in the ring post, I see Morgan and Morgan, right? My wife turns around and looks, and I said, you want to hear the story of this one? John goes, no one watches this bullshit. No one, Dan's telling me this. Next day, the biggest call output in the history of Morgan and Morgan, he says, my dad goes, across the board.
Hey, not only did I do that, and here's
there you are working with Dana. You know what I mean? There you are working and doing something with Dana.
Listen, I sponsor Kyle Busch. Have you seen the buses we have with Kyle Busch on the side?
Yes.
We got Frankie Muniz up. We're sponsored. My children, are kind of moving in, and I don't know what I don't know. And I I was always kind of hesitant about sports and this and that. But look, I'm in Yankee Stadium. I'm in the Red Sox Stadium. You ought to look at this thing in Pittsburgh today. This campaign. So I have decided that Dan was right, and that we're at UFC. Listen, man, we're at the World Championship rodeos. We're doing rodeos, and so it's a new world, and we're a unique situation, Dan, because we're the largest injury firm in the history of the world, and we're in every state. We have 1,000-something lawyers. And so we can advertise nationwide, and I couldn't do UFC and be an Orlando law firm, but because of the size and the scope and the scale. And by the way, when you buy like that, it's really cheaper than when you buy local because the cost per thousand goes down.
Hey, John, I didn't mean to insult you when I said 100. I found out it's 300 million, and I was like, hang on. Someone goes, hey, you better put another zero on that thing there because John spends over 300 million when it comes to advertising across the country. And I'm going John's famous line, man, I don't need you because I'm everywhere.
Hey, listen, I had a guy, I know you love that line. I had a guy that came to see me today. He's a radio guy, has one of these shows, and he wanted me to do something with him. And I used the line that I told you a long time ago.
25 years ago.
I don't need to be anywhere because I'm already everywhere. So but if the rodeo people have a good price.
Yeah.
Okay. If UFC, are we sponsoring Michigan?
Yep.
We just opened up in Detroit, kicking ass up there. I'm sponsoring a lot of, sports up there.
Yep.
And listen, with the way the world is now, people are cutting cords. People aren't watching TV. They're watching streaming. Live sports takes on a whole new world of its own as far as marketing to the masses. So, look, Shaq, Shaq's, but we had speaking of Dan, we had a buddy the other day, one of my guys I represented years ago, I'm not going to tell you his name, but he got arrested for something. Shaq was trying to get Shaq called Dan and said, we got to get a lawyer for so-and-so. He said to ask Pops who we should get.
Yeah.
I told Dan, tell Shaq if he gets involved, the guy's going to ask him to pay for the law. But we do Shaq's. We do. And I have Dan do that. Me and Shaq have been friends for a long time. You remember Jerry Demings, who was our sheriff. Shaq and I had the first fundraiser for Jerry when he ran for sheriff. So all these relationships over the years have paid off. And look, once upon a time when you were here and you had nowhere to go for Thanksgiving dinner, I brought you over and gave you hey, have you ever had a better? Listen, no. when you eat with Kentucky people,
no.
For Thanksgiving, one time listen, you'll like this, Dan. One time we were at this Stuckey's with my grandmother who had all the things, and there was this bunch of books, and she was looking. I said, "What are you reading?" And the book was called White Trash Cooking, and she's reading this book, White Trash Cooking, and she puts it up, and I said, Are you gonna get that book?" And she said, "No, honey, those are just my recipes."
Hey, folks, let me just tell you this. I went over 3 times for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I'm going to tell you this. You see John and Ultima on the commercials. They are the same exact people that when you're in their living room, you would never know. You would never know because you see pictures of John back when he had this first house and he came from Kentucky. He shows all these pictures. I've been in that office, by the way, if that's the Orlando house.
Yes.
And I've been in there.
This is my real office in Orlando.
Oh, okay. Because the home one, I was in there, and
I got this same piece of furniture in the home office. That's you're
right.
thinking.
And I'm watching John write out checks for all of his family because he shares he's so giving and such. And I'm telling you, the number one thing that I love the new commercials, and I'm implementing it too when I talk about you, is that you know why he's so good? They win. Okay, John doesn't give a shit about anything else but winning. Okay, and I told the folks in California what you're doing out there, getting those folks their money.
You remember when I owned Taboo, the nightclub in Orlando?
Yep.
You know who my DJ was?
Who?
DJ. He was our DJ. All I do is win.
Yeah.
Him, DJ Khaled. And he was my DJ, so he went out and hit this thing. So that song, I love that song. All I do is win.
John Morgan, I never heard. DJ Khaled worked for you too?
As a DJ at Taboo. And the guy, and Mark Nije, remember Mark Nije?
Yes.
Mark put the whole deal together. It was me. Mark Nije was the leader. I was in it. Remember Johnny Magic, the radio guy, and Howie D from the Backstreet Boys. We owned Taboo. And later in life, I'm looking up. I seem like all we do is win. I'm like, I called DJ up. I go, is that the guy that was our DJ? He also DJ'd at a bottle club that DJ owned. It was unbelievable. And all of a sudden, so when you say all I do is win, I just think of DJ Khaled. All I do is win. And listen, if you want to know how much we win, go to forthepeople.com, look at verdicts and settlements, and
30 billion.
We win a lot.
Absolutely. John, thank you so much. I feel like one of your sons, and I mean that a lot because you've always taken care of me and watched over me. And thank you again. I can't thank you enough.
Listen, Dan, I am so proud of you because you've had some ups and you have had some downs, but guess what? No means yes.
Yes, sir.
You kept fighting.
Tell Ultima hi and tell everyone we said hi.
I will.
Love you, John. Thank
you.
That is our friend John Morgan. I didn't expect to keep him on that long, but hey. So this guy, DJ Khaled, what is that? I've never heard that. Holy cow. Better Call Saul. Bob. Holy cow. I love that movie. Holy cow, man. All right, I got to take a time out and pay some bills here, or John's going to kick my ass. Speaking of Morgan and Morgan, you just saw the man himself. By the way, every Tuesday he's coming on with us to talk sports. How you doing? Chris Hinton, his son, was just drafted by your Eagles. He's going to come on in a couple minutes here as well. Over $30 billion recovered. Just heard John say it, because all they do is win, win, win. Unbelievable. Number one injury law firm in the country. Maybe one of the tops in the world. Told you about the family in Pennsylvania. $650K they were initially offered. John got him $30 million. Down in Florida, where he is right now, they were offered $350,000 a family. They ended up getting $12 million. If you're ever injured, please do me a favor. Go forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. That's forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. And do me a favor. You tell them Big Sale sent you.
This is Eric,